Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Daily Casts with Ed and friends. Thank you ever so much for joining me this evening. Hope you've all had a great day. It's a Tuesday. We've got to the end of our IDs. Let me say hi. Hello all. Let's turn off my Slack. There we go. Twitch is nice. It wants to send me into your stream while I'm watching your stream. That's very good. Dunch, good evening. Thanks for joining. A double viewer is better than one. We've got to the last of our IDs today. Finishing off with MBN. I'm joined by a very special guest. He's probably my number one playtesting partner. I think we played more games together than certainly I played against anyone else. I don't know about you. Late night cheating on me, James. Probably for you early morning, to be honest. I think you're in bed most of the time by 9 o'clock, aren't you?
Yeah, I usually go to bed quite early.
Yeah. I'm joined by Ilksvorbern, James. Good evening.
Hi.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone.
Can you in the chat? Can you hear James?
Yes, can you hear me in the chat? I've been witness to some of these technical difficulties over the last week, so hopefully we won't be subject to them today. We can hear everyone. Amazing.
Excellent. That's always nice, isn't it? Yes, Ilksvorbern, you may have noticed, was the author of today's law story, and I have to say, it was well received across the board. I know you've been quite busy today, going back to school with all the kids yesterday. I know you've been working between. But no, certainly I've been sending you updates, haven't I, James?
You have. And I actually, as soon as the children left for lunch at lunchtime today, I quickly went on the school computer and opened up Nisei.net, and I was like, it's been posted! Yes! It's so exciting.
Yeah. Good evening, Algebraic. Yes. I love this story as well. I actually got a chance to read it just before the weekend, didn't I?
I sent you a draft, yes.
You did, yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about what your thought process was there, James, on this story?
Can I introduce myself first?
Listen, mate, I know I told you the order beforehand, right? Sometimes I'm very forgetful. James, for those who don't know you, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm James Ilksvorbern. I started playing Netrunner in 2019. I didn't have a meta, so I used to get the train up to Taunton. I used to play with Ian and Duncan at Taunton. And then I went to Nationals that year, which was really fun. Met some amazing people, played loads of really good games. And then, got really excited for 2020. I thought, this is my year. This is going to be the best first year of Netrunner. All these new cards, all this Nisei stuff. I don't know what's come before. It's all new. And then COVID hit and everything changed. Just been playing online and decided while I was off work over the sort of lockdown period to apply to become a Nisei playtester. And so did that for the most of lockdown. Confession: I haven't actually played Netrunner in about 4 months, except for a single game of CTM versus Wiz.
Which is your favourite all-time game in Netrunner, I believe, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Even though I was never obviously around at the time, but playing it now, it's a joy. But so I've been very busy with school, but because of that, I think that's why I've been trying to keep involved. And so I joined the writing team kind of mid-late last year, and as we've sort of been developing what's going on for Gateway and things like that, I've been able to get more and more involved, and that's enabled me to keep contact kind of with the community to an extent. And I think when Gateway releases, it's going to be a good kind of starting point for me just to start playing again, because I've kind of got slightly out of the loop, and it'll be good because things will be fresh for everybody.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there was obviously that danger where the meta kind of, I say, gets solved. It's not like I've solved the meta personally, but you play the same matchups and you play the same lists, and innovation goes down and down, and as other temptations arise, and you moved, quite a major move at the end of the summer as well, didn't you? So things get shaken up, and I know you said you wanted to get back into the game, and now's the perfect time. Judge Break in the chat, is Bubba based on one of your students?
Guess that's such a great question. Not directly, but I suppose that kind of detailing of what a child might pay attention to is probably informed by things that I kind of notice from working at school, because I work with at primary school, so I work with young children. I work in year 3 at the moment, which is I think grade 2 in America for any Americans watching. So when they're 7-8 years old, and I've worked with younger children as well, and slightly older children. But it's not a direct thing. I think for my own writing, I do often write stuff that involves children. I think because of working with them, and I don't know, and reading lots of children's fiction and things like that. So I think that's where a lot of my interests lie, and so I kind of wanted to weave that into this story a bit. And when I wrote
if you haven't had a chance to read it, everyone, dear viewers, do read it. It is my, unbiased, my favourite story of the set. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Sorry, James.
Yeah, so it's what was I going to say? It is, it's kind of an interesting story. So it's, and I did write it, so obviously it's very interesting. but what I mean by that is that when I was writing it, there was a concern in my mind that it wouldn't be a classic Netrunner story. It wouldn't be a super exciting, shady deal, some kind of someone going through cyberspace, or some evil, corrupt kind of business person making things terrible. It was kind of more just about the experience of these characters in this situation. But what I kind of liked that, because that's sort of what I hope gives a kind of perspective that maybe is slightly more unusual. And the one thing I hope that's come across from this is that if you look at the art, if you scroll up and the art for the ID, so the art for the ID, which is has the tower above with the kind of beaming the augmented reality down, the place that it's on. Throwing shade at the other stories. The place that it's on is very futuristic, but I was kind of, so when I wrote the story, and I was kind of giving it more this sort of I don't know, classic 50s America sort of vibe, this perfect suburbia thing. I was a bit is that not going to fit with the art, and is it going to look weird? But I kind of wanted to explore this idea that there's going to be different settlements across the moon that NBN are providing augmented reality for, and that they would be experimenting with different setups essentially to find what is working the most, because of the fact that NBN are always monitoring people's brains and monitoring their how they receive things. I thought that they would be kind of experimenting with these different things, but that might not go down particularly well with everyone who experiences it, and a small child is sort of the perfect person to be able to have that sort of insider but outsider perspective, because they're maybe not completely swayed by all these things yet.
And I think the kind of the innocence and the kind of, I don't know, Paradise Lost sort of feel to the story, if you know what I mean. Where it's for everyone else it's the perfect world, and for him it's the opposite of that, and the kind of the twist at the end where suddenly it's the most, as you said, the most
The
beautiful thing
end.
he's ever seen.
Don't say the ending.
But I want to tell
Anyone who
people
hasn't
about
heard
this
it.
art. This is my favourite piece of art, and I'm really hoping that this is on a card because I think it's just quite magnificent.
It's incredible.
Scale and depth.
I hadn't seen this piece of art, and I was, when I got to the end, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it's a cool one. Should we talk about today's card?
Yes, we shall.
Before this gets upset. This will be joining me next week to discuss more about the kind of creative process. So, looking forward to that next Wednesday, everyone. So here we go. Today's card, the last ID, MBN Reality Plus, abbreviated as Reality with an R and Plus with a plus. So it's 4015, as all the other IDs have been. Identity Megacorp. The first time each turn, the runner takes a tag, gain 2 or draw 2 cards. Flavor text, why settle for real? What was your initial thoughts, good sir?
So my initial thoughts are, I really like it, and I like it because it like the corp needs to do something to get the value from this. So it's not just going to tick over. It's not like you can't sit back with it. You have to consciously build your deck around it. Yeah. You have to have ways of putting tags in. And if you're putting tags in, then you are, hopefully going to do something with them. And one of the biggest problems I think that can happen with tags is that you can sometimes land a tag, but it doesn't really do anything, which is like the worst kind of thing. Like the value tag is kind of just not usually any value. And so being able to gain money or draw cards, potentially alleviates that and makes even a value tag have more value, because it's like a refund on whatever the thing was that caused it.
I think interestingly enough, Chris Dyer, early morning, before the ID was released, said it would be nice to see MBN do something with tags that isn't punishment, but is actually board state positive, tempo positive for the corp. I think this really does it, in that you have the choice of gaining credits or drawing cards. Generally, drawing cards is better, but
draw 2 is always a sweet draw as well. Like 2 cards is a lot of cards.
It's a lot.
I mean, 2 credits is a lot of credits, but 2 cards is a lot of cards.
Yeah. So over a game, but you're gonna tag the runner 5-6 times maybe. You might more, but realistically, in a normal game where you're building around this, you're probably going to look at 5 or 6. So 12 credits, it's decent enough for an ID. Drawing 12 cards is quite a lot.
And I think as well, it's the kind of psychological side, the thing that say CTM does really well, which is especially against a person who's new to playing CTM, and kind of what Argus does, that idea of I'm tagged, if I get tagged, this is going to be terrible for me.
Sure.
And I'm really worried about getting tagged, and you kind of try and play around it, or you might misplay and things like that. And kind of knowing that if you get tagged now, that it's I feel like the value also is a psychological value, because you're adding, the corp has even more, gets even more out of a tag. So as the runner, you're potentially going to be trying to avoid that even more, which might make you misplay.
Yeah. And I suppose there's that thing where, you play in your turn generally, say, not that this will be CTM, but say if you're against CTM, you run click 3 and remove the tag click 4, or you run through the data raven click 3 and then remove the tag click 4. Now all of a sudden you've got to take into consideration, well, if I'm running HQ with data raven in front of it, the corp draws 2 cards, it comes into your calculations a little bit. Or for example, you're Adam and you find the truth. You found an agenda on the top of R&D, and then that suddenly gets drawn to HQ if there's a tag ice on R&D. There's quite a lot of depth there, just with that basic interaction of the tags. Not to dismiss the fact that the most powerful cards in MBN are tag cards, and we're lucky enough to have June write the article with this today. Shout out to this in the chat. Shout out to XR Docs as well, or XR Docs, either XR Docs or XR Docs. I don't know which one it is. Thanks ever so much for joining this evening. If you haven't followed the channel before, do follow. I put out a notification every time I start streaming. But thanks for joining this evening. Said, I read it as both drawing and gaining credits. Got way too excited. Yes, if it was drawing and gaining credits, it would be a bit busted.
Yeah.
But yes, no, June. So June, they say in the write up, they mentioned.
Yeah, I was going to point to this next. Yeah, cards like Ping really outperform their cost when you're able to constantly dig deep into your deck to find critical tag punishment like Retribution. That's a fairly weighty sentence.
Yeah.
So Ping has a cost, and I assume it's giving a tag if it's in this article.
It would. I think it's safe to assume that. I don't think, spoiler alert, Scoops. I don't think you're going to listen to say jail for saying that. No. It is quite difficult when you see these names and you're like, I want to talk about this card, but I can't talk about the card. Oh, look who's turned up. Andy the Lovell99. Good evening. Thanks for joining me. Lovely to see you. Hope you're well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with free price deck's pretty sweet, and I agree with what Andy says. Hey Andy. About the fact that it enables you to draw into your win cons. So there's obviously some kind of tag punishment as well called Retribution, which sounds like a perfect name for a tag punishment card. And cards like Hard Hitting News will find even more upside when you're recouping their costs. So, your Hard Hitting News, which costs 3 credits, you get to draw 2 cards from it, or you get 2 credits back, so it only costs you 1 credit. And that can be really important because, the other side of sometimes using tag punishment, especially with traces, is that you can end up going quite broke to do it, especially if you're having to spend a large amount of your credit pool making sure that those tags stick. You then also still need enough credits to, let's say you're tagging someone and then you want to play Boom. Boom is an expensive card. It's 4 credits. So to get potentially 2 credits back is going to hopefully then enable that to happen. But the flip side of that is that, if we're comparing this to something like Sync, that Sync has a higher chance of making those tags stick because they cost more to remove.
Was that an intentional pun there? Was that an intentional pun there, James? On the flip side, Sync. Are you sure?
I wish. I wish. But I'm kind of interested. What kind of deck do you make with this? Do you make a Rush deck? Do you make a Glacier deck? Do you make some kind of I'm going to drown you in tags and then I'm going to kill you deck? I'm going to give you a tag and kill you. I'm interested to see where people take this because I don't quite see. When I looked at the Restoring Humanity ID, which I wrote the article for, in my head I instantly had 2 decks that just straight appeared in my head. I could really see what I wanted to do with it, which is weird because it's quite a strange ID. But with this ID, I feel like there's so many options. It's really open, which is a good thing because it's good to have open deck building to let people be creative. Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be the most powerful NBN ID we see, if I'm completely honest. I also don't think it's going to be not just meme soul levels, but I don't think it'll be like Harish Chandra. And there could be a good tempo deck in there. if I mean, number one, it shuts down. If there was a tag me meta, it shuts that down, or at least it battles it, doesn't it? Whether Liza the Thunder could get unbanned now is a interesting question.
The only IRL tournament season I've ever been part of is when Liza was like on top of the world.
Yeah. Andy saying for me, when the ID's mainly being triggered by the runner, you need to find a way to force them to proc it. So yeah. I like Rush. I think Rush is probably the right way. Because it's just tempo positive, isn't it? MBN has the most taxing ice currently. Whether Slot Machine will take a hit in the ban list, which I believe is going to be coming out in the next week or so.
Really? So there's a pre-ban list before the rest of the Gateway update come out.
I've seen it written somewhere. I can say that, and then
I suppose that makes
me
sense.
in Nisei prison. Yeah, I've seen it written somewhere. I'm not sure where, but yeah.
Okay, that pretty makes sense because I imagined that the MWL testers have been testing with Gateway and update. You know, they know what's in it, so they're going to be testing, and they'll know what potential, degenerate interactions or power levels there might be.
You'd like to think so.
You hope so.
Where do you see? Put you on the spot a little bit. Right, let's go 1 to 7, and in the chat as well. I'd like to see this. Maybe if you give us your strongest couple and least strong IDs on first glance. Obviously, proviso. It's rather tricky to assess an ID when you haven't got their card pool. That said, let's do it. James, what do you think is the strongest, most meta-changing, defining ID?
Thanks for this. This put me on the spot. Okay, I'm gonna just give out my genius predictions. So personally, I think precision design is going to be really good. But that's more so maybe because I'm just very excited about it. I think having +1 hand size is really handy, and I think that being able to bring back, because it's a whenever ability. I know that there's been a lot of discussion about this. Well, there was, especially when the ID was revealed. But if you're able to have a turn where you're chaining 2 or 3 agendas, potentially getting those agendas back, as sort of pseudo Project Vitrubii, I think is going to be really powerful. Now, personally, I actually really like combo play. So this is fine for me, and I'm happy. Other people might be like, "Ugh, combo play. I don't like this."
Yeah,
but we'll see. And I think my 6 would probably be. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what's next. I kind of feel. So I think the I'm going to pronounce this name incorrectly.
Zahaya,
that's it. There we go. Thank you. You took the words out of my mouth. So I think Zahaya is just going to be solid because it's a criminal, and it's a criminal when it gets money. I think Tau could potentially be. I think Tau is going to really depend on the deck lists and the players for its power level, because I think there's so much potential there, and it's going to really reward good decks and good players. Wayland is simple and I like it. It's kind of, I don't know. Wayland is like, if I was going to give one of these IDs to a brand new player, I'd probably just give them the Wayland one.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. If
If
there's a tournament tomorrow and I hadn't seen the card pool and I was getting the card pool at midnight, I'd be playing Wayland if I had to lock it in there.
Luke seems all right, but I think I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's really hard. So you asked me to give a 1 to 7, and I've given you like a 7, and then I've given you like some ramble.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the audience were looking for definite answers here. They were gonna write this on their wall as a reminder of what decks they should be building, and what they
Yeah, so they
shouldn't.
can accuse me if I'm wrong.
I'm gonna for once give an opinion. I agree with you. Precision design is probably the strongest or second strongest algebraic. If you want to compare and contrast with my takes at 1 o'clock this afternoon, feel free. I think Tau, Zaya, I can say really smooth now. Loop and Wayland are probably around the same place.
Yeah.
And then NBN's going to be very card pool reliant, and Restoring Humanity is going to be extraordinarily card pool reliant. And Restoring Humanity might end up being, might be a bit of a slow burner, and then might be long term. Lister for hacks, thank you very much. Might be kind of a long term design there, where in future metas it's stronger.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And that's actually one thing I said in my article, that like I really like that idea about you know, having archives in an ability, because it does make people think about it in the future. Because obviously, the team are planning far ahead, and having these IDs means that they know that these IDs are going to be in the card pool for a while, and so they will be thinking about what to do with them. Actually, like Restoring Humanity is so far the only one that I've kind of put together a deck list for. Yeah. And I'm quite like, I don't quite know why. Maybe it's because I wrote the article before, but maybe it's kind of become like a pet ID. Like I really want it to do well just because of that. And because the art's so pretty.
Oh yeah, absolutely stunning.
But yeah, as Andy says, Polana is clearly better. But I just want to play some kind of 6 agenda, just horrible, grindy grossness.
Yeah, a lot of people complain about that, but actually I kind of like it as well. I'm not going to lie. This is saying as well, once Polana rotates, and it's a really important point as well. Polana's got one more rotation left. Polana goes currently with Bash's release. So, we've only got Polana in the card pool. Fingers crossed, in some ways, unless you're a Polana fan, for the next 6 months. You two are awful. I took Polana to the last tournament.
Yeah, Andy. So, I mean, Polana. Yeah, Polana is also is probably my favorite ID that exists now. But I'm just trying to be hyped about all the new stuff.
See, James, I'm going to take issue with that. How can Polana be your favourite ID?
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you why Polana is my favorite ID. Polana is my favorite ID because when I started playing Netrunner, I remember really clearly playing against Ian in Taunton, and he was playing Polana. I was playing I think I was playing name an Anarch runner. I think I was playing a Quetzal deck with 6 consoles in it or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds like Mr. Ian Wet. Shout out.
No, that's what I was playing.
That's what you were playing. What on earth were you doing, James?
I don't even start playing Netrunner. So, I don't mean 6 different consoles. I mean 3 copies of 2 different consoles. Anyhow, the point being, he was playing Polana, and when he explained to me what the ID ability was, and on my first turn playing, I went to go and draw a card, and then I stopped, and I thought, but he's going to get a credit.
Yeah.
And that just terrorized me for the entire game, and I couldn't get over this fact that whenever I was drawing a card, or each turn, he would get a credit from it. And at that point, I thought, this is genius. This is such a tiny thing. This isn't like I'm going to kill you. This isn't like you take damage, you lose cards, all these kind of things. It's
No.
not like, fireball to the face. It's just a really subtle change that changes your play habits. And I
Yeah.
think that's the point at which I was like, this game's really good. So that's why I like Polana.
Interesting. I'm not a massive Polana fan. I think it's quite dull. but we're allowed to. I get it. I understand. That it's kind of the depth of the game is actually that kind of passive ability stuff. I'm trying to be nice, James. Look, Polana's about as dull as dishwater. I played it in the last tournament because I thought I should play some good decks, and it treated me poorly. So that is my one-time relationship. I am bitter. I am. I had a dirty weekend away with Polana, and look what happened. I came last in the tournament. I'm never playing Polana again. Thank you very much. James, one other thing I wanted to talk to you about this evening. Alt arts, and more importantly, playtest art. Would you like to talk to me a little and tell the viewers a bit about the playtest art process?
Okay, so without wanting to give too much away, essentially, we have we get like card information, and then it needs art, because otherwise it's just kind of boring to look at because there's no art on it, and the art is amazing. So the team collectively make all the art for the IDs that for all the cards, and just submit them all, and we all do different ones, and so you get all these variety of art styles, and they're all amazing and hilarious and genius. And I'd say they all are really in their own way.
So to our non-UK viewers, we had a show, I think, growing up, maybe Andy, maybe yourself remember Take Heart with Tony Hart, and they had the gallery, didn't they, where they got to you send in your drawings, your artwork, and have a little slideshow with that in mind. So this is my most prized alt art. Everyone, if you can't see this, oh no, how do I get that on?
Just going to answer. So June says in the chat, hopefully folks are liking the ID. It's fun. Yeah, absolutely. I think we are, and I think people are generally as well. It seems good. And
James,
DND.
James, yeah? I don't know how to show the art. Hold on, I know what to do.
Can't you just put it into open your tab?
I did. It's okay.
Oh, that's weird.
What I'll do, I'll go into the most important channel on emoji spam. On Slack, emoji spam.
Oh, and spam it in.
Yeah. Jean, thanks for joining this evening. Jean, lead design on Netrunner.
DMB says, I wonder how this ID plays with assets and AR enhanced security.
I think Ares is a huge. Sorry everyone, if you're new to Slack, don't come. This is what Slack looks like. And emoji spam's the worst channel, and emoji spam is the place where your computer takes half an hour to load.
So actually, that point about assets and AR enhanced security, I hadn't actually thought about that at all, but that's really, really nice. If you can score an early AR enhanced and you're playing wide, then that's huge value. I hadn't thought, because when I was suggesting deck like how you play the deck, I didn't even think about assets, and now I'm thinking about assets.
I think you can play it wide.
But is it worth it over CTM? I doubt it. Yeah. Yeah, that's the flip side, right? That's it's like in a vacuum. So maybe in startup, in startup you don't have AR enhanced security.
No. So that'd be interesting to see.
What's it called? Lockdown? the format.
Yeah, there's the
Someone banned CTM and
look, in Throwback you can play breaking news, can't you? And I think 24/7 news cycle's not banned in internal, so could be fine.
then you can play CTM.
So let's talk about alt
Anyhow,
arts. I'm gonna use emoji spam channel on Slack for a little bit to do a slideshow of your alt arts. So this is my most prized alt art. This is Chef Express Tenma, Disappointed Chef, which James made for me, which was very kind. I'm sure there was a reason, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a reason. So Ed and Andy and I did a charity stream with Cooker, who's an American netrunner player, to raise money for Hospitality UK, and it was great fun. We raised some good money, and Ed was unfortunately defeated in this fight between the two chefs, and that's why he's a disappointed chef.
It was quite close until I lost.
It was great. They were really good matches.
They were good games. I mean, the level of gameplay was atrocious, but the entertainment value was very high.
Yeah.
So that is James's work, and that's what I would say that would be a very high standard. I remember when June first joined Nisei and saw the identities that you'd drawn. June was very, very excited, and Sanjay as well. Sanjay's had a lot to say. Horrifying chef kiss from Algebraic in the chat. This, I think, is the next one that's coming up is maybe your proudest work, isn't it? I'm talking about a champion card that you've done an alt art for.
So yeah, this is quite recent, and I haven't actually. I have got a place. I have got a few of these in my hands, but I haven't actually used them much yet. But I am really, really proud of them, just because they kind of exemplify my style. So my style is not good. There are people who make alt arts that are just incredible pieces of beautiful art, and shouts out to everyone in the alt art community and in the artist community, because the alt art side of Netrunner is just amazing. Having all of these beautiful cards, it's wonderful. Yeah. But I do my own thing, and so I did an alt art border control with an image of Chris Dyer as a border control agent in some kind of Papers, Please vibes. And here we go. I did send it to Chris actually to get his blessing on it.
Oh, fantastic!
Said it was okay.
Yeah. That's good to hear. I wasn't sure if that had been released into the wild before. And so now we come on to, I think you suggested this to me actually, didn't you, James? So James was very keen on the competition that I'm running. Just to remind everyone, in case you didn't know, I'm running a competition. I'd like some submissions of art inspired by Gateway cards. And I do have James's runner IDs in my alts folder. Right here, I've got my very own copies on this special page here. But James, you sent me your final proofs, and you're saying you're going to put these up as prizes, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was lucky enough to be given the art briefs for the Gateway runners for me to do the playtest art for them. So I've done my own versions, which we used, and I'm now going to actually print them as actual IDs. So they're quite interesting because they share many similarities with the final cards that you've seen the incredible artwork for by Benjamin Giletti, on the website over the last week. But these have my own twist, so as you'll see in just a second.
Yeah, I hope they've loaded up on stream now. So this is what it looks like for a playtester when you're battling
not the text.
one another.
So just to say that all of the text on it that's me just adding it on as of this weekend. The playtesters, the art is the only thing the playtesters see.
Of course, yeah.
They have their own version of the text.
But yeah, so Yeah, Luke lost his waistcoat. Yeah, drop for tattoos. James, I know you're a man of fashion. Would you prefer Luke to have tattoos or be wearing a waistcoat?
I'm pretty happy with the tattoos actually. Personally, I think for Luke, the I wasn't quite sure what his. Well, I knew what his style was from the description, but I didn't quite understand it. I thought it
Mm.
meant that he just dressed like he sort of like he maybe lives in a cabin in the woods, um, and but like is impervious to cold and only needs to wear a sort of yak waistcoat or something.
Yeah.
Can you make them bigger by clicking on them? Will they get any
I probably
bigger?
can. I probably can. Did the people want to see them bigger? There, let's go. There we go.
No idea.
There's Loop. I think it's quite haunting, James. Loop. You can tell he's a man of the night, man of the moon. And actually, interestingly enough, I think it's rather similar to the final art. Were you in consultation with Nisei's art team?
Like I said,
use...
I got given the brief,
Mm.
basically, or like I don't know if it was the full brief, but a sort of pared down brief maybe, so that I knew roughly what I was drawing, and it wasn't just from a name. But that was it. So I then just
I
took
think
those words and went
my
with it.
point was more when Nisei approached artists. Were you involved in that conversation for the? Did you?
So Nisei asked me at first. They said, "Can you do all the art for our actual gateway cards?" And then I gave them
Yes.
my price, and the price was just way too high.
Yeah.
And they couldn't afford me. So
Yes.
yeah, they had to unfortunately go Benjamin Giletti, which was a shame because no, but for good reason. It's good that I was way too expensive because I think the final versions of the cards are like,
Benjamin Giletti is I'd say possibly improved, if possible, your artwork. And James, let's talk about Tau.
yeah.
Was the Rubik's Cube involved in the art brief when you drew these IDs?
Yeah, I wasn't just like it wasn't a weird coincidence.
Oh.
Now I should really make the joke that Benjamin Giletti looked at my art
Yes.
to do his.
Yeah, we want to really oversell this point here. Let's try that again. So, when Benjamin Giletti contacted you about your playtest art, did you have to draw up a contract for his use of the Rubik's Cube?
Yeah, and it took quite a long. It was like a long negotiation. I had come up with this Rubik's Cube concept, and I basically said that what I want next to Tau is some floating hands holding a Rubik's Cube.
Yes.
And then he just went with that and did his own thing. He didn't. And actually, like his ability to understand this is amazing because if you look at the tower, it makes perfect sense. Like he's holding the Rubik's Cube in his hand, even though it's not actually in his actual hand.
Yeah, you
Whereas
can,
with Tau,
you can see the fingers.
yeah, you can see the finger shape around it precisely. My version is just like it's kind of similar, I suppose, but
looks like maybe
okay.
holding a baguette.
Yeah,
Possibly like a baguette
he's really
close to
hungry.
the chest, very hungry. Tao's a hungry chappy. And then Zaya. Actually, now Zaya, I think is actually both the best and worst. It's actually not too bad, James. I I've say about this one. It's quite good.
I've got her kind of ethnicity incorrect.
Yeah.
It's like her skin tone is wrong. Her age is probably wrong. But I have got the suit and I have got a blue headscarf.
Yeah.
So I feel happy about those two elements, and it does look very cyborg. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks very cyborg. Criminals are blue. It is blue.
They are. It is
Blue head
blue.
scarf, very,
Blue on
very on brand, and a strong jaw for a very strong mother.
Yes, absolutely. So I
And
couldn't get the flavour text on here, which is a shame. No,
no,
room.
and it would have been a shame, James, because it would have covered up a lot of the artwork as well.
Yeah, I already had to cover up enough to get the words of the card on.
Yeah.
Oh,
There was
also, I don't have any software, so I used to do all my arts on Paint. So the um the Chef Tenma one, and I think the Border Control one as well, were both done on Paint.
Yeah.
But I don't have. I've switched to a Mac, and Mac doesn't have Paint, and it just has Preview, which has probably the worst. Like, it's like the Mac's version of Paint, but it's useless, and so it's made it doing everything very challenging. And it doesn't have the same paint aesthetic as well, so I kind of got to draw. Actually, the pictures weren't drawn on Paint; the pictures were drawn using my iPad, using a program called Sketches.
Yeah.
But yeah, the software side of doing art is really, really challenging. Sometimes if you go in Artist Colony on Slack, you see some like very detailed posts about like the specific locations of words on a piece of, kerning, and the space between words and all these things, but it just amazes me.
Yeah.
I just draw something and stick some letters on it.
Yeah. I will say.
But yes, so there will be a full playset of these as a prize.
Oh, sorry. Right. So yeah, 2 points here. One, I would say your artwork has improved for Bash's playtesting. Not that you've played a game of Bash's playtesting, which is one less than me, I think. But two, you very kindly did offer a full playset of these up. Shout out to Fike in the chat. Yeah, I agree. The correct spelling is very important there. Wild with a Y. More on Wilder Law next week. And James's Zaya is very similar to the art used for the website tile for the story. Done a very good job.
Well, thank you very much, Dis.
That is quite remarkable. You didn't kind of put a signature on these pieces of art, did you? You're not covered, are you? You haven't got any kind of legal protection, have you, James?
I've got my price set, guys. They'll sort me out.
James, you very kindly offered up a playset of these alt arts for the competition. I don't know. Yes. I don't know what to do with them. I don't know where they go. Oh. I think they're top
they go in people's decks. Oh, I see.
No, I don't mean it like that. No, I don't know whether they are the first prize or I've got an idea, James. Here's my thoughts. I would like to offer a bonus, the Ilksvorbern prize for trying really hard. Could you judge a prize for me?
Yeah, I'll judge a prize. I do that every day at school with just small children, so I can definitely judge prizes for trying hard.
Thank you. So, are you confirming that anyone that enters has the opportunity to win a prize, no matter how good or otherwise their entry is? There's a potential to win James, aka Ilksvorbern's prize for trying really hard, which is probably, in some ways, the best prize on offer, as it's currently only available through this competition. A full set of alt arts for the Gateway IDs.
I think as well, these might be the first alt art Gateway IDs. I don't know if anyone else has done it.
I think they are. I think they absolutely are.
Hot on the mark. There's a gap in the market here. If only Netrunner was in real life again.
Yeah, Shaquiza's warming up his laser already. James, it's always a pleasure. Is there anything else you wanted to
Yeah,
talk
it's been
about,
great.
mate? No,
No, I
love
think I've
talking to
rambled
you.
on long enough.
No.
But
I'll
yeah,
carry on all
it's
right,
been
mate.
it's been really nice chatting. I just want to say a huge shout out and thanks to everyone, Nisei playtesters, Nisei writing team, who have been absolutely brilliant and are such a good positive community to be part of. With giving really good feedback and helping us improve and working together for the shared goal, and also the community as a whole. Which has just been very engaged with this scoop season and with the game and keeping the game going. So yeah, it's been great, and you're all amazing.
Yeah.
And thanks to you,
Uh,
Ed, too, for doing this cast, because this is a great thing to have every night.
yeah. I'm enjoying myself, and the best part about it is I get to talk to a variety of people around the community, and thanks to everyone that comes on, including you, James. No, it's genuinely it's a pleasure to be able to speak to people from around the world with a shared interest from different areas, different backgrounds, and it's really cool. So that's it from me for today. Remember, there's a competition. Remember, it doesn't matter how good or bad it is. Just like
Hey,
James's
how do they
entries.
enter the competition?
How do they enter the competition? I know everyone's been asking that. If you look on my stream, you will see a link to the GLC Discord. If you go there, join the GLC Discord. If you join the GLC Discord, I got it right that time, then find me. My name's Ed. Hi. You'll see a picture of an egg next to me. And send me a DM, as everyone else has so far. I've already had, James, you missed it yesterday, I've had 6 entries already. End of week 1, I've had 6 entries. The competition's absolutely blown up. Everyone wants the prizes, and I think the stakes have been blatantly raised as a result of this stream. James, thank you ever so much. Always a pleasure. Thanks everyone for joining. Make sure you follow so you know what time I'm on tomorrow. And good night all. Take care.
No, bye.